News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Fancy Wimbledon tennis? Watch it live with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Luton, Gatwick or Stansted.
Tomorrow will be another dry and sunny day, highest temperatures of 19 to 25 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave for your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
This is News Talk.
Now you're welcome along on this Wednesday evening. Forget Wednesday night rugby. Wednesday GA, that's where it's at. It's Donalogue's worst nightmare. 16 Gaelic football matches this weekend. And we've got the brilliant Colin Boyle and Darren O'Sullivan between 8 and 9. Dan McDonald will be along in the football show. Lots going on there. And this hour, OTB AM had two-time Heineken Champions Cup winning coach and two-time Heineken Cup winning player, Roland O'Gara, on the show this morning. Plenty to reflect on, as you might imagine. So we'll play you that interview this hour, just after 7:30 or so. 53106, the text number. At Off the Ball is where you'll get us on Twitter. Richie McCormack is there. Hello.
How are you, Joe?
Michael McCarthy is here. Hello.
Hi.
The problem being for Wednesday night GA, as I've just christened tonight's chat with Colin and Darren, is that everyone hates Gaelic football right now, including Gaelic football people. So Donalogue and friends are probably right. Hurling just is better. That's the
initially by making the cardinal sin by calling Gaelic football GA. You know, typical football man. Yeah. You know, it's inbuilt in you that the entire organisation is the game.
I felt Wednesday night GA had more of a punch than Wednesday night Gaelic football.
Yeah, I know, but just saying.
I hear you.
It's only half.
Everyone hates football, Mick.
Yeah, they
football
do.
Doesn't care.
Absolutely, but sure, look, I mean, this is to say this is the Twilight Zone, deja vu, etc., is to under exaggerate. I would say how much this happens. This is every year, right?
Has there ever been a May or a June in the history of our lifetimes watching Gaelic football where most people were sitting around going, wow, I mean, this is just wow?
I don't think
so. Great stuff.
91 is probably the last one when you consider that Dublin Meath was so early in the Leinster Championship. I think they were the first games that were in June. I might put the correction there, but like that would have been, I'd say that was probably the last time for sure.
They must have been early.
Derry down in 94, but I mean, it's a one-off occasion. The rest of it stinks, I guarantee you, they were saying.
Yeah, or certainly since the 90s anyway, I would say. First we had the provincial issues, then the qualifiers, and you see what happens is at this time of year is just like the game in some ways, I think, except for the purists, of which there are many out there, I think when it is played between two teams of differing, when it is played negatively, which let's face it is played more earlier in the year than it is later in the year, it's a tougher game to watch than most. You know, there's still, like, you'll get a close game, it'll end up being exciting, but it doesn't bring you along in the way maybe some of the other sports will. But look, it's always safe come the end of the year because there are more than ever this year, I would say. There is 5, 6, could you even stretch it to 7 All-Ireland contenders?
Oh yeah,
which I don't know if we've ever had that. Let's say 5, right, to be, you know, conservative. There's 5 All-Ireland contenders, and you know that's just something that we've now. And when they start playing each other in full-on knockout football, all of this will be forgotten, as it always is. And then come next April, next May, we're talking about football season's yet to come to life. Can't watch this. Roscommon had the ball for 6 minutes. The game's dying, etc., etc. None of that's wrong, by the way. It'll just be superseded by the good stuff.
What is it built in GA people as a whole, because this stretches to hurling to a degree as well, like what is it about them that becomes so obsessed with the aesthetics of the sport? More like, it seems more than any other. The closest I can probably think of is the debate about distance in golf, but this seems to be the one thing whereby and it's not necessarily a difference of opinion or a difference in tactics, it's just the actual sport itself and how it appears to the wider public is seemingly permanently in question. And I don't know what it is built into the system that says that has to be a sort of talking point every year.
Yeah,
and if it's that broken.
I don't know. Are we a touch self-conscious about its appeal, and we're always fighting off the Premier League and global sport?
It's the last remnants of British rule in these islands.
All right,
I would say
that's two. No, but that's two. That's two Donalogue references. We won't have a third.
But that's where it's coming from. It's an inferior. It's a field that we need to battle for. The, you know,
hurling doesn't.
GA people. It does.
Hurling just celebrates how great it is,
but it doesn't. It's constantly saying like, God, like you play a sweeper, you have a tactical innovation, and you're ruining the game. It's gone.
You score.
You know what I mean? Hurling's as bad as it,
Okay,
Richie,
sorry.
isn't it? Like, you know,
that's a fair point.
Like there's a lot of that. I think it's a battle constantly for the GA people. I think feel that we've got these games and they're a gem.
Yeah.
But obviously the rest of the world doesn't know about them, so there is this feeling, well, maybe they're not actually that good, and it's just something that you know I grew up with. So you're always fighting against it.
Well, look, it seems
Human
to
nature.
have survived 30 years of every May and June it being terrible. So, you know, maybe we can relax a touch. You mentioned the 6 minutes of possession on Roscommon's part, so that is the new men behind the ball conversation. Roscommon, much like Derry in the Ulster final this year, started off the game against Dublin by keeping the ball for 2.5 minutes. They got their opening score courtesy of Kieran Murtagh, and then on the 30-minute mark, the most talked about passage of play in quite some time, Roscommon were ahead by 3. Their goalkeeper Conor Carroll taps the kick out to Brian Stack. 77 passes later, and the goalkeeper, by the way, had 19 touches, which gives you a sense of where most of the play happened. Kieran Murtagh did score. Like, a part of the problem here was Dublin were just passive. They weren't in the second half, but in the first half they went man for man, which meant the goalkeeper was free, and they just weren't arsed pushing up, squeezing up the way you would see football teams doing it, and saying, well, if you can kick it to the 15th man, the other end of the pitch, go for it. But, you know, and so that brings in the other problem with Gaelic football this time of the year, and particularly this season, is the phrase shadowboxing. So with Colin Boyle and Darren O'Sullivan, we are going to use the phrase shadowboxing at least half a dozen times. So nobody knows what's what. Nobody knows who's trying. Would Dublin dream of letting Roscommon pass the ball 77 times? And only Maurice Brosnan had the stat. A Dublin hand only touched a Roscommon jersey 9 times across those 77 passes. Would they dream of doing that in knockout football? No,
of course not.
None of us know what we're watching is the other problem.
Yeah,
it's just all a bit flat.
But it is a trend, and Dublin themselves were very good at it and would kill games, and like, it makes possession in football almost like when you have a lead, it's like that is killing the drama of a game, because you get possession, that's it. You could have the ball for 3 or 4 minutes, and it's a very big pitch. Like, in a game like football, it's a very big pitch to press everybody and to really, really close off that space. You've got a goalkeeper in play, it's an extra man, they've got a lot of room to run into for a pass. It's an easy game to not get caught in possession in, say, like the opposite of hurling in that way. So, like, it's definitely a trend I think we're going to see more of, and we need innovative solutions. But you're right, it's not going to be that bad. But I mean, I saw that in the Mayo-Kerry game, it happened as well. Mayo were brilliant at it, actually, but again, it was like they're killing the game. Kerry are trying to come back every time Kerry get the ball. It's eager, and it's straight up to Paul Ganey, and it's like, you know, trying to get it to Clifford, try to score a goal. Mayo get it, it's 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't go 6 minutes. But the most important thing about that is, the reason it'll not stop, is Roscommon got a score at the end of it. It worked.
No, true, you know? And it frustrated the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Interestingly, and he can expand on that later on after 8 o'clock, Darren O'Sullivan also thinks the 6 months plus away from an inter-county setup is harming the standard. You can do what you do at your club, it's just a lesser standard, and he doesn't think it's good for the standard of inter-county football. He totally gets the split season concept and why it's good, broadly speaking, but just within the confines of a conversation about standard. He doesn't think it's good for the elite to be away from the inter-county setup.
Makes sense, and hasn't been talked about.
Yeah,
you know, like, I mean, it's something we can probably come back to, but if you're with a team 10 months a year at the elite level, like, it's not professional. I'd like use the word professional. People always bring money into it, but it is full on, like, akin to a professional environment. You're training with the best, you're eating with the best, you're doing tactics with the best, everything, gym, etc. Whereas if you're just gone for half a year, like we were talking about the rugby lads last night and how small a break they had, and Rory was talking about how they don't really take a break at all. They go to hotels with the best gyms.
Totally. You go back to club and, like, Richie's marking you.
Sorry, Rich.
You've got a handy day's work there, Mick.
Leinster lose and we get 2 weeks of listening to it. Munster win and we get 2 days.
Sure, 2 weeks. Sure, it only happened a week and a half ago.
Yeah, we've done well to talk about it for 2 weeks there. We've almost travelled through time to do that. You'll be pleased to know we are hopefully going to talk to Dennis Leamy on the show next week.
Next week, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And we reached out to Keith Earls as well. We'll get to him eventually, so, you know,
Well, he'll get to us eventually, Joe.
Sorry, yes. I hasten to add, if Keith Earls was available, he would be on tonight, but we'll hopefully get to him at some stage. So don't worry, Munster fans, we've got you covered. But
and we've Rog on tonight, you know.
Rog is on tonight. That's effectively a Munster win as well.
Exactly, yeah. When Munster beat Leinster in the Heineken Cup final there last week.
Yeah, I love that. 2 weeks of listening to it. You're right, it's 10 days. There you go. Some other texts in. Gaelic football is like slow motion basketball with no proper tackle. Too much action without jeopardy, says somebody. An anonymous text in, the highs of Gaelic football are always enough to make us forget about the lows. Well, I think that's been a big part of the last decade, whereby the aftertaste of Dublin Mayo, the afterglow was so glorious, those epics, that it tend to cover a multitude. But I guarantee you 2 months before them.
I agree completely. The slow motion basketball point is a really good point. Will was saying the other day that like we always jump to rule changes, and I couldn't agree more. It's not always the solution to change the rules for everything, but I always have the shot clock thing in my mind. Now, it doesn't have to be 24 seconds like basketball. Again, it's a much bigger pitch and much bigger game, but I do think that it might be the only solution to this kicking the ball around backwards for half an hour.
We haven't really done a piece, and I never have given too much thought to rule changes because I just find it a touch everyone's got their own version. It's like championship structures. As soon as someone takes out a sheet of paper and goes, this will solve the championship structure, I zone out.
It's also too easy a solution to always just change the rules.
If you're doing, top of my head, if you're doing shot clock, then you absolutely have to have certain numbers have to stay in opposition half. Because if you do a shot clock, if I was a coach, top of my head, I would say, well, all 15 of us back into our own half and just clog it up, and let's watch that clock tick down.
All draws, 100%,
And like every rule change has to be done carefully, like the unintended consequences of everything, because like managers are always going to find really effective things which are pragmatic and effective, which kind of go against the spirit of the rule and make things worse. So I'd be really wary of all these rule changes which are chucked out.
I couldn't agree more. I'm just saying with that one, I wonder if it needs, again, it's almost like I haven't even thought it through, because I'm also like you, I don't think about the rule changes, but now I'm thinking, is there something in that one? But it's not figured out yet.
Rich, any rule change you want to carelessly throw out on national radio off the top of your head there? That would be a panacea.
Make the pitch smaller, Joe. I think it's quite obvious.
13 aside is always
too
a safe
big.
one. You say 13 aside. No one can complain about 13 aside. I tell you, to be fair, rugby is a sport that's bloody good at rule changes. I mean, 10 years ago, 13 aside was being talked about, and now they've manipulated the breakdown and various other rules, and it's more. I
disagree with all of them at the start, and then they become good. I still think the hold up being a dropout is a disaster.
Something like 50-22. What a rule.
Yeah. Rob Kearney went down to Australia and he did the first one I've ever seen on his 1 year away, and I remember it was just like, what is this? This is transformative, and I like the way it isn't transformative either. It's something that might happen once a game,
but it forces obviously them to keep numbers in the backfield, and then you get more break. Like every one of the consequences are great. Like I'm boring myself now. I feel like just such a I don't know, sniggering please, but every time there's a 50-22, you can guarantee Joe Molloy watching TV goes, God, it's a great rule.
A ball being held up over the line resulting in a loss of possession, I think, is a bad rule. I have to say, I think they should change that back.
The Newsround is brought to you with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition is available now. Richie, Roland, Garros. Novak Djokovic finds a way to be centre of attention one way or another, I think.
Yeah, boy howdy. This is probably the attention is going to be on what he does after tonight's match rather than during it. But ahead of his French Open second round match, Novak Djokovic has been warned not to repeat his message regarding Kosovo. The Serb wrote on a camera lens, Kosovo is the heart of Serbia, stop the violence, after his first round win on Monday. France Sports Minister Amélie Oudéa-Castéra described his message as militant and very political. Djokovic takes on Martin Fucsovics in Paris in the next half hour. So, men's top seed Carlos Alcaraz booked his third round place tonight with a 4-set win over Taro Daniel. Alcaraz will play Denis Shapovalov next. 5th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas and 11th seed Karen Khachanov are both victorious today. The women's 2nd and 3rd seeds are also safely through to round 3. Roland Garros following straight sets wins. Arina Sabalenka and Jessica Pegula beat Arina Shimanovic and Camila Giorgi respectively, but the 5th seed Caroline Garcia is out. The home favourite lost in 3 to Anna Blinkova. That sets up an interesting meeting. The Russian will play Ukraine's Alina Svitolina in round 3. Also out today, 2017 champion Elena Ostapenko and the 15 seed Lyudmila Samsonova.
Would either of you have a big Roland Garros is on your bucket list thing? Just as you're talking there, Richie.
Yeah.
Like Wimbledon is one of those bucket list things I would have, and tickets are so expensive and it's also difficult, and you're in the lottery. I've no sense. Is Roland Garros just as tricky?
I don't think so, because of the way they ticket it, and they've split up the sessions, especially on Chatrier, where the evening session is usually a bust, so you can probably find tickets for that. But geez, I'd love to go. I even did, I know tickets are hard to come by for Wimbledon, you have to go into the ballot and all that. I did the tour extraneous to the a couple of months after the tournament, and even walking around the grounds, it's
beautiful.
It has that aura, and it's gorgeous, and it's really well appointed, and every little detail about it is just sublime, absolutely sublime. But yeah, Roland Garros, I'd love to do again. There's something about that May, June sunshine hitting that red clay is gorgeous.
You're in Paris, I was I looked last year to see what you do, a package where you're guaranteed a quarter-final or semi-final Wimbledon was, and it was just thousands and thousands, crazy money. But I was there, lucky enough to be there at the Olympics in 12, and like Richie says, it feels very iconic to be on the grounds and see the stands, and a million memories come flooding back. Henman Hill. Are you a Henman Hill or a Murray Mend man?
No, it's Henman Hill.
Either way, much smaller. Much smaller.
Be a solid British man, and you always remember it's Henman Hill.
Not as impressive an edifice as it looks on the TV.
No,
very small.
Just a mound. Maybe it is a Murray Mound.
It's just a slant of grass, pretty much.
You'd be surprised by this, but I have, because you always say I'd watch two flies up a wall. I've never had any interest in the French Open. I find it boring, I have to say, and it's just never been for me. I can't say I've ever even watched. Maybe the Nadal Federer finals or whatever I might have watched, but
I know what you mean.
That, not a French Open guy.
I know. I do.
Not really a Paris guy either.
Most year, really?
Jesus Christ, man! I got crap for the Sopranos and The Wire and stuff last night.
Last time I was in Paris,
the whole iconic city.
Last time I was in Paris, and this happens all the time in Paris. The entire place was basically closed down for protests, yellow jackets or whatever it was at the time. We couldn't go anywhere. Couldn't get out of the city to go to Disneyland, lost Disneyland tickets, and then mugged on the way to the airport.
Well, the ordinary decent people of France who are agitating for better working conditions apologise. My God.
Those yellow jackets people, you wouldn't be on their side, Joe.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But that aside, your one specific experience aside, Paris.
Oh, every other time I've been to Paris has been brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. So
I wasn't mugged, by the way. My wife was.
Jose Mourinho, don't call it a comeback and all that. He's in a final again here.
He is indeed, yeah. Back-to-back European finals for him at Roma, but Sevilla are attempting to win the Europa League for the 5th time in 10 seasons tonight. Standing in their way at the Puskás Arena are Jose Mourinho's Roma. Mourinho can become the first manager to win the trophy with 3 different clubs. He'll join Giovanni Trapattoni on 3 wins as well if he wins tonight with Roma. Kickoff in Budapest is at 8 o'clock. Cork City, meanwhile, continue their hunt for a first win in this season's SSC Airtricity Women's Premier Division. They are away to Wexford Youths, and kickoff in that one is 7:45.
We will keep you updated.
Surely the story on that is Sevilla and not Jose. Sevilla going for their 7th Europa League title. It's absolutely insane. How are they always in it? With them winning it puts them into the Champions League. They conspire to finish 3rd so that they get busted back down to Europa League level.
Yeah.
You're not interested in the fact that Sevilla, this random Spanish team, are in the Europa League final. They've never lost one, actually. That they've won it 6 times in no time, in 15 years.
I'm not
15 years.
I'm not against it, but I'm not that into it.
Okay.
I find the Jose
more for a Mourinho man.
Kind of interesting, yeah.
The story here, though, is Budapest, and how in the space of a few weeks it's managed to host a European Under-17 Championships and a Europa League, despite the overwhelming case of racist incidents at their stadiums, particularly during the European Championships, and yet they get rewarded in the space of a couple of weeks with all of this. Just seems odd at the very bottom end of that scale, but strange and
odd and
beyond
entirely
the
world. Yeah. Is there anything Richie loves more than a tennis major? Never has he more cause to whip out the linguistic skills. I mean, I do think he scours the early round matches for the most difficult pronunciations. There's a certain randomness to the matches he mentions.
Long time news.
Minimum 3 syllables is the AI device he uses.
My favorite is Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. That's just it rolls off the tongue, and it's got about 15 syllables, and she won today as well, funnily enough.
There you go. You get another crack at it next round.
There you go.
So how is it Wednesday? And Mick's never talked about Aston Villa once. Jason in Dublin. There's just no time. We'll press on. Although you did actually, sorry, it's not even that funny a bit, is it? You did have a great stat about Emery yesterday that if you extrapolate his 25 matches out across the season, Villa would be third.
Yeah, in a points per game over 38 games, they'd have finished third ahead of Newcastle. 1.96 points per game is what Emery got in his 25 games. It's not a small sample size, you know. So unbelievable, really. I didn't even realise it was that good, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, it's like, I think De Zerbi at Brighton has like 1.56 points, and you know, like starting off with from a higher place as well, obviously with Potter and all the talk there and what they've done, which is a remarkable achievement, literally. But yeah, I think people are sleeping on the fact that Villa had such a good record in the
on the face of it, a man who was brought in to save them from relegation, getting them into Europe in the same season is remarkable.
Yeah, there were a lot of strong cases for manager of the season this year. Gary O'Neill, Emery, like Pep, you kind of have to go there.
Pep won it there last night.
De Zerbi, kind of extraordinary as well, and several others I'm not thinking of. Roy Hodgson, late
Eddie Howe.
There
you go. Got the Champions League.
Some amazing managerial performance.
Can I ask? This is to take Villa out of this, but it's just something that interested me in some of the, like, I got a couple of messages about it saying it was small time for Villa to be celebrating finishing 7th and getting into the Conference League. What would your thoughts be on that? Just as a you know, we had a discussion about Munster's homecoming off air as well, and whether that was something that, you know, that Leinster fans were saying that's a small time thing.
Right.
Where do you stand on that?
On Villa celebrating?
Yeah.
Like that they've got European football as a fan base to look forward to next year, and trips with their families and loved ones to cities that they wouldn't do otherwise, and big nights under floodlights at Villa Park next year to look forward to, having been staring relegation in the face. I think they're alright to celebrate that.
It was one of those great occasions, and then there was a lot of kind of like, you know, Conference League, great. You know, I do think the reality, the rivalries of football, rivalries of sport, have just forced us to have such joylessness. And that's my overall point.
Yeah, the Oscar music on Villa is playing now.
I'm not talking about Villa. I'm talking about the
reality of that. The reality of that will come home to bear when you get like Rijeka and Djur Gardens in the group stage.
Shamrock Rovers, I think, is the most likely opponent, I would say.
Frank says, when Pep's Barcelona played tiki-taka football, everyone thought they were brilliant. It was actually boring, and you could put the kettle on and make a tea and miss nothing. I sort of I grudgingly and hated myself for thinking it. Sort of agreed with that. The best thing that happened tiki-taka was when gegenpressing came along, and suddenly it was like a really interesting interaction. But there was definitely a 5 or 6 year spell there where Barcelona just picked the game up, put it in their pocket, didn't let anyone else play, and it was boring. It was admirable in the extreme, but the games were boring too often.
Yeah,
it's not a popular.
It feels like it's a higher skill to do it in football than it is in Gaelic football, if you know what I mean.
Depends. I do
think there was a lot of one touch. There was a lot of
fair enough,
moving in and out, and like, I mean, all of that has been done in football. But I just feel like you've a lot more capacity to keep possession of the ball when you can use your hands.
No, it's true. They were awesome, and don't ever tell Graham Hunter I said that, because he gets very angry when he hears that opinion. But it was just how I felt, you know.
Yeah.
My brain told me I was wrong to feel that way, but it was how I felt.
It was always messy at the end of it, and you know,
that helped.
In his 20s.
Yeah, no, that helped. So we have Gaelic football as well this evening.
Yeah, Portlaoise, the venue for this evening's Electric Ireland Leinster minor football final. It's a repeat of last year's decider as well, with defending champions Dublin once again up against Kildare. Throw in is in 5 minutes' time. Ronan O'Gara, meanwhile, does not believe Ireland's World Cup campaign will be undermined by Leinster's defeat in the Heineken Champions Cup final. Some people believe that La Rochelle's victory exposed some weaknesses in the Irish setup, but speaking on this morning's OTB AM, and I know you'll have more of this later, O'Gara did not believe that to be true.
It's not, because it's nowhere near the same management group, and so it's incomparable in my mind. It's the exact same as saying, well, it's La Rochelle with someone else coaching them. Well, then it's a different team, you know. And I'm not trying to take the credit for myself, far from it, you know. I just think we have a very good staff here, and we have a very good playing group. But I think, you know, the Irish team is very, very different, because its leader is very, very different to what happens in Leinster. And that's not a slight on Leo or Stewart or Goody or any of them, because I think they're fantastic people and fantastic coaches. It's a game of tiny margins, Jar, and you know that with your experience in all sports.
Okay, so we shouldn't be too worried about the fact that there's a bit of a template for international sides to play against Leinster/Ireland.
No, because if Leinster score 1-1 score at 17-0, the game is over. They could probably go on and put 40 points on us.
Okay. So don't be stressing out just yet about the World Cup, you're telling us.
No, it's completely unrelated. There's a different absolute mindset for Ireland. There's a different level for Ireland. It's a different coaching group. It's a different playing group. For me, it's poles apart.
So we're going to play that full interview this hour, so hang around for it. It was a really good chat on the way just after the news round. Last story or two, Rich. The Eddie Jones thing is kind of interesting.
Out of nowhere, this. Yeah. Eddie Jones has shocked many by claiming he'll leave his role as Wallabies head coach after this World Cup. He was appointed to the job in January, signing a contract that ran through to 2027. However, Jones told Lawrence Dallaglio on the Evening Standards Rugby podcast.
Well, firstly, I'm only coaching till this World Cup, mate. Are you? Yeah, I've signed, but as I've made the mistake before, I've stayed too long. So if we win the World Cup, it'll be time to go. If we lose the World Cup, it'll be time to go.
Eddie, but the 2027 World Cup is back in Australia. They will absolutely want you to be part of that, I'm sure.
It's a long way away, mate.
Asked about Jones' comments by the Sydney Morning Herald, a Rugby Australia rep said Jones was trying to emphasise that his focus is only on this World Cup. They will remain in charge for the duration of his contract, with the 2027 edition returning, as Dallaglio mentioned there, to Australia.
Well, they made a decent effort to lie about the situation.
I love this. Like, I'm only coaching this. Like, I've signed, but
not doing it. He'll change his mind.
That was just for more money.
We are out of time. Richie, thank you very much.
Nice one, lads.
Michael, thank you.
Cheers.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
We have a rollover, so if you've entered since 5 o'clock Tuesday, you're still in to win, but you must know the new amount, which is €20,831.09. So text play to 57557. And the new amount again, €20,831.09. Over 18s only. Text costs €2.50. You're playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Terms and conditions are on newstalk.com. Roland O'Gara on the way next.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
We love summer at